Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Garrison. I want to welcome you to this session of Humanity Rising as we convene the day after an American holiday, Thanksgiving. So, for those of you watching from other parts of the world, we are mindful that this holiday is unique to the United States. And it's one of those rare holidays that isn't shared out of the country, except by Americans in various places in our world. So I just want to wish everyone happy Thanksgiving. I was contemplating what I could meditate upon today that would be of benefit, knowing that in only a few weeks' time, we convene our State of the World Forum between December 14th and December 17th as a live interactive broadcast around major issues pertaining to the human predicament and the human future. I was reading over the last couple of days about the history of Thanksgiving and the meaning as it has shifted over time. And as a historian, I'm always interested in historical narratives and how Thanksgiving started actually not at the original Thanksgiving meal, but during the Civil War in the 1860s, inaugurated by President Abraham Lincoln as a holiday to give thanks for the Union victory and the preservation of the Union as a result of the bloodiest conflict in American history, even to the present day. It was an extraordinary carnage at every level to the American people, particularly young men on both sides, and to the American soul and psyche. It cleaved the body politic asunder, and it has never quite been put back together again. So I was thinking, how does one give thanks for something of such violent magnitude? And then, as you know from your history, those of you who follow these things, it wasn't until about 100 years ago in the 1900s that people began to broaden the notion of Thanksgiving and began to go back to the origins, to that story of the native peoples being generous and bountiful to the pilgrims, helping to support them during times of drought and duress, where there was near starvation for the pilgrims there at the Massachusetts Bay Colony. And that began a certain mythology around sort of a moment of harmony between the pilgrims and the native peoples that really didn't exist. There was a period of quiet that lasted for a time, but there was no doubt in any European mind from the beginning that their destiny was to take that land. It was only a question of when they were going to be strong enough numerically, technically, to do it. So I pondered again. So, how does one give thanks for an event that is so laced in contradictions? And I came to reflect, and I want to just share some reflections on Thanksgiving in a very complex world. What does gratitude actually mean in a world where when one side wins, another side loses? And as Abraham Lincoln said in his Gettysburg Address, both sides are praying to the same God for victory. And yet one side celebrates triumph and the other side endures defeat. Where does gratitude take place? It's one thing to be grateful for what benefits us, but when one looks beyond oneself to the other person or the other party that has lost while we have gained, does that mean gratitude stops with benefit? That's what I've been pondering over the last couple of days, and particularly yesterday, as I was aware here in Washington, D.C., of a capital city which had just witnessed the intentional shooting of two National Guards people that had been deployed by President Trump to guard a city that had one of the lowest crime rates in times, had no need of a militarized presence. He sent them anyway, and there had been many incidences of civil disturbance. And then right around Thanksgiving, two of them were shot not too far from the White House. How does one give thanks in that situation? I want to begin my reflections by recalling something that St. Paul said in the book of Corinthians, one of his letters to the early Christian churches. He said, I am instructed to be both full and hungry, abundant and empty at the same time. I can do all things through the Spirit which strengthens me. And when I recalled that verse, I began to realize that gratitude, if gratitude is to have genuine meaning, is to be thankful for everything, remembering what the Buddha said, that there are certain questions that do not lead to edification. He says there's no point in contemplating some questions. One of them, he said, was on the original moment of the universe. He says you can never get behind the universe any more than a fish can get out of the water. So to contemplate when did it all begin is a question, he says, that doesn't lead to edification. You're not going to get anywhere because you're going to end up exactly where you are. So it's better, he said, to try to alleviate suffering. But even there, he said, another question that does not lead to edification is the origins and the extent of karma. because everything is interconnected with everything else. And so when we say after something bad happens to us, what did I do to deserve this? Why did God do this to me? It's not my fault. It's the other guy's fault. He made me do it. The Buddha would smile and say, those are questions that do not lead to edification because they end where you began. And that is in an unanswerable, fathomless extent of karma. Everything that is caught up ultimately in the same karmic web. And that's why the Bodhisattva says in his or her vow of compassion, I will not enter the final stage of enlightenment unless all people, all of nature, all of the universe arrives at the same time. One of the most sublime and noble impulses of the human spirit. And I think the seed kernel of true compassion and true gratitude. That when we get to the place in our lives where we can simply give thanks for something fundamental to existence itself, that we are alive, that in the vastness of the cosmos, in the infinite extent of co-origination, everything that is came together to create a confluence that will only last not even a moment against eternity. But while it lasts, this moment of life is precious because it's us. It's me. It's you. And our aliveness our infinitely ephemeral moment of awareness is what enables us to express gratitude for everything that happens. Because everything that's happening is co-creating who we are. Our identities are not just inherited from our two parents or come down from our ancestors. Our inheritance is the cosmos itself. And therefore, in this brief moment in which I can say I am, knowing that it will end sooner than you can blink an eye, when measured against infinity. Every thought, every word, every action somehow condenses the totality and shapes the totality like a pebble dropped in a pond. As I have been reflecting on these things over the last day or two, I thought of two fundamental truths that seem worth passing along to you in this meditation on gratitude. Number one, Gethsemane. Since everything is interconnected, protecting ourselves from life is a pointless exercise. And like Jesus, knowing that he was to die, and with every ounce of his being resisting that, such that it records he was sweating drops of blood. Nevertheless, in the end, he could fall to his knees and say, "Not my will, but thine be done." We think we're in control only to the degree to which we think we're separate from the totality. But once we come into a realization that it's all one, and that our microcosm is in some deeply mysterious but important way connected with all of it, the surrender of our individual will to the larger cosmic will becomes a joy. It's a surrender of gratitude. And that leads me to the second and final point that I want to make today. And that is that it has struck me as I've had these thoughts that fundamentally, gratitude, we can give thanks for everything because we know, even though we can't see, that all things are brought together through the intelligence of love into our harmonious expression of beauty. And this, of course, was the great teaching of Diotima, the old crone, to Socrates in his youth about love, recorded by his disciple Plato in the great dialogue, The Symposium. Diotima said, love isn't just romance. Love is not sentimental. Love is a mediating intelligence that binds all being, both in the visible and the invisible realms, into a harmony that is fundamentally beautiful. Gratitude, therefore, is that disposition of being, it seems to me, where one honors the interconnectedness of all life, the light and the shadow, the full and the empty, the abundance and the need. Into an awareness that this is life living itself toward a harmony in which everything that has ever been recorded by the universe, including us, is part of a web of life, a tapestry, a painting. Or as Pythagoras said when he coined the term cosmos, ornament. We are all part, he said, of a cosmic poem, a cosmic song. And that's beautiful. And that's what love is creating moment by moment by moment. And that's why the whole cosmos hangs together. And that realization compels all of us to fall on our knees with gratitude that we've been given this moment to be alive. We all know that the next several years between 2025 and 2030 are going to perhaps be more consequential than at any time in all of human history. The fact that we're alive now means that each one of us have been chosen by love to play a part in the unfolding drama. And what we're seeking to do through the State of the World Forum, as you all know, is to explore those fundamental truths that bind the world as one, because they're true, no matter who you are or where you are around the world. Ecological collapse, instability in human affairs, exponential AI, and non-human intelligences on Earth, into a singularity out of which comes the four intelligences: human, nature, artificial, cosmos. My friends, this is the most extraordinary moment, maybe in all of history, to be alive and to be an instrument of divine will, to be able to say, not my will, but thine be done, knowing that this is a participation in the work of love to create a future, if we're surrendered enough, that will be blessed by all our children under the seventh generation. And as I've contemplated these things, I realize I am deeply, deeply deeply grateful for all of you with whom I share company in this noble enterprise, this task of love in our time. For that, I am deeply grateful. So thank you, everyone. We'll leave it at that for today. I'll join the after chat for a bit. Those of you who would like to join to contemplate these matters, I love you all very, very dearly. I can't imagine my life without our Humanity Rising, Ubiquity University, and State of the World Forum communities. We're doing great things, and I love you all very dearly, and I'm grateful. Thanks, everyone.